Welcome to Soul Connections. Thank you for being here and for choosing to spend this time listening. On this channel, I share real experiences that people have trusted me with, moments that changed how they understood life, consciousness, and what may exist beyond the physical body. Many people come here seeking reassurance, especially when fear or uncertainty feels close. The story you're about to hear was sent to me by a woman who underwent emergency surgery. During the operation, she experienced something she could never explain away, an awareness that existed beyond her physical body. What makes her experience especially powerful is that parts of what she witnessed were later confirmed by medical staff caring for her. I'll be reading her account in her own words as faithfully as possible. You don't need to analyse it, just listen. This is Karen's story. I had never given much thought to the idea of leaving my body. Like most people, I assumed consciousness lived entirely inside the brain, tied to the physical processes that kept the body alive. I wasn't dismissive of spiritual ideas, but I'd always placed them somewhere in the realm of belief, meaningful to some, symbolic to others, but not something I expected to experience personally. That changed the day I went in for surgery. The operation itself wasn't planned far in advance. I had been unwell for some time, managing symptoms I thought were manageable, until suddenly they weren't. Tests were run quickly. Conversations became serious. Words like necessary and urgent entered the discussion. I remember lying in the hospital bed, feeling strangely calm on the surface, while underneath, fear pulsed quietly. Hospitals have a particular atmosphere, controlled, efficient, and faintly unreal. You surrender your clothes, your privacy, your usual sense of agency, and place your body into the hands of people you've only just met. On the morning of the operation, I was wheeled through the corridors lit by bright overhead lights. I remember looking up at the ceiling tiles as they passed above me, one after the other, trying to anchor myself to something familiar. The operating theatre was colder than I expected. It felt clinical, purposeful. The medical staff moved with calm efficiency, speaking to one another in a language that felt both reassuring and distant. I was introduced to staff who explained what would happen. This guy's voice was steady, practical. I remember thinking, just get through this. As the anaesthetic was administered, there was a brief sensation of warmth spreading through my arm. My thoughts began to slow. The room softened at the edges, and then quiet suddenly. I was no longer lying on the operating table. There was no moment of confusion, no sense of disorientation. One moment I was aware of the room from my body, and the next I was aware of it from above. I realised with complete clarity that I was no longer inside my body. I was hovering near the ceiling, looking down. The strange thing was how normal it felt. There was no panic or shock, just a calm, alert awareness, clearer than I'd ever felt while awake. Below me, I could see my body on the operating table. That recognition should have frightened me, but it didn't. The body looked oddly impersonal, like a shell I'd stepped out of rather than something I identified with in that moment. It was connected to machines, draped carefully, surrounded by people who were fully focused on their work. I could see the surgeon clearly. I noticed the way he stood, slightly angled, his hands moving with practiced precision. I noticed the nurse standing to his left, passing instruments without needing to be asked. I was aware of details I wouldn't normally have noticed. The colour of gloves, the rhythm of movement, the way a tray of instruments was arranged. What struck me the most was the absence of pain. My body was undergoing something invasive, yet I felt nothing of it. No discomfort, no fear. I was simply observing. I also noticed something else. I could hear the conversation. Not just vaguely, but clearly. I heard one of the nurses comment on the time. I heard the surgeon respond. I heard a brief exchange about an instrument that wasn't where it's supposed to be. At one point, I became aware of a nurse entering the room and standing near the door. She wasn't involved in the procedure. She said something light, almost casual, and one of the others responded without looking up. All of this registered with a clarity that felt sharper than ordinary hearing. I remember thinking, this is strange. I shouldn't be able to hear this or see this. And yet, there I was. I didn't feel drawn back to my body. I didn't feel pulled upwards into anything else. I just simply hovered, watching, aware and calm. There was no sense of time passing, the way there usually is. I wasn't bored. I wasn't impatient. I wasn't waiting for anything to happen. I was simply present. At some point, I became aware of a feeling, not a presence in the room, but something broader. A sense of being supported, accompanied, though I couldn't see anyone else with me. It wasn't a voice, and it wasn't visual, but it carried reassurance. I knew without being told that I was safe. I also knew, and this surprised me, that my body was being taken care of. There was no fear that something might go wrong. No anxiety about the outcome, just trust. Eventually, I became aware that my focus was shifting. The operating room seemed slightly less vivid, as though my attention was being gently redirected. The sense of hovering began to fade, replaced by a sensation of moving downward. Not falling, not being forced, but returning. And then, quite suddenly, I was back inside my body. The first sensation was heaviness. I had a pain in my chest. My limbs felt different. And they felt distant as well. Sounds were muffled again, as though I was underwater. I remember hearing voices, distorted at first, then gradually becoming clearer as I regained consciousness. When I woke up in recovery, I felt disoriented, but calm. I knew immediately that something unusual had happened, but I didn't yet have the words for it. Later that day, once I was more alert, I mentioned the experience to one of the nurses. I didn't frame it dramatically. I said something like, "This is going to sound strange, but I remember being above the operating table." She paused. Not in the way people do when they're being polite, but in a way that suggested surprise. I went on hesitantly, describing what I'd seen. The position of the surgeon, the nurse near the door, the comment about the instrument tray. Her expression changed. She told me that during the operation, there had been a nurse who briefly entered the room and stood by the door, even though she wasn't part of the surgical team. She confirmed the conversation I'd overheard, including the casual remark that has stood out to me. Later, another nurse confirmed the timing comment I remembered. There was no explanation offered, and none requested. The nurses didn't seem frightened. They weren't dismissive either, just thoughtful. One of them said quietly, "You wouldn't have been able to see that from the table." That was the moment it truly settled in. What I had experienced wasn't a dream. It wasn't imagination filling in gaps. I had perceived events from a position my physical body could not have occupied. In the weeks that followed, I struggled to integrate the experience. I wasn't suddenly religious. I didn't feel the need to convince anyone. But something fundamental had shifted. I no longer believed consciousness was confined to the body. I no longer believed death was an abrupt ending. If awareness could exist outside the body during surgery, when the brain was under anaesthetic, then consciousness was not as fragile as I'd thought. That realization brought me a quiet, steady peace. I became less afraid of the unknown, less anxious about control, more present in my daily life. The experience didn't make me long to leave this world. It made me appreciate being here, knowing that when the body eventually reaches its limits, whatever I truly am does not disappear with it. If you're listening because you're afraid of surgery or illness, or the idea of losing consciousness, I want you to know this. When my body was unconscious, I was not gone. I was aware, I was calm, and I was still me. Thank you for listening to that experience with such openness. Stories like this don't demand belief. They simply offer another way of understanding consciousness and perhaps a little reassurance for those who need it. If you find comfort in these stories, you're always welcome here at Soul Connections. I'll continue to share experiences that people have trusted with me, told carefully and respectfully. Until next time, take care of yourself.